post-pandemic pillars of online marketing. These are the key tools that you need to be successful in your own small business, either as you start it out online or you have an existing small business and you are seeking to develop your online sales. This is the place to be to help your business start, grow, and prosper. One of the ways we do that is by partnering with remarkable subject matter experts. And today's topic of online marketing will be brought to us. Alex, really pleased to have you joining us. We've come to know Alex in two ways, in many ways actually, but two businesses that he has a leadership role in include Zenith Online Marketing, or as I'm sure he's going to pronounce it, as I've heard you pronounce it, Zenith Online Marketing. But that's just differences in where he and I hail from. So Zenith Online Marketing has advised companies ranging, or individuals and companies ranging from physicians to vineyards to marketing agencies to consumer brands about how they can succeed in online sales. He's also going to focus on a recent venture of his. I won't share much more about that, but a case study coming in the session today will be his latest venture. Alex's background brings education from Campbell College in Belfast, Ireland, Queen's University in Belfast as well. We've collaborated with him in an entrepreneurial community for the Susquehanna Valley called 1 Million Cups. That's one more thing that I hope you'll pay attention to the chat, an opportunity to connect with entrepreneurs like Alex, like other clients of the SBDC, and others who are excited about startups in the Susquehanna Valley. Look for more about 1 Million Cups Susquehanna Valley and how to connect with other entrepreneurs and those who seek to give advice to you as you start your business. So with that, our session will run for 90 minutes today. We'll wrap up a little bit before 10:30 with a poll. Look for that on screen. We'll ask for your feedback and also what other input about what other topics you are seeking to help you learn about how to grow your business. So again, Alex, thank you very much for joining us today. We're looking forward to the session, and to everyone who's joining us with the hopes of learning how to grow your business online. You're in the right place, and we look forward to helping you not just through this educational program, but in an ongoing fashion through the consulting services of the SBDC. Alex, thanks, and welcome.
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for the kind introduction, Steve. And just to reiterate what Steve was saying, I've seen what the SBDC does here at Bucknell in Lewisburg here. And if you ever have a chance to utilize that service, definitely do it. Just phenomenal work. So thank you again for having me, everyone. And I hope we get some good information across. And if you have any questions as we go, feel free to pop it in the chat, and I'm happy to answer them as we go. And then at the end of this, we'll have a little Q&A session as well, if you prefer to do it at the end. So today's presentation, it's one I've done for years, the pillars of digital marketing or online marketing. It's changed a little bit with the whole pandemic and everything that went along with that. But the truth of it is that the pillars are really the same as they have been for a number of years. And so I want to kind of just discuss the different elements of online marketing, how we as an agency approach it. And as Steve said, we've got clients all around the world in all sorts of different industries, from engineering to healthcare to, like you said, vineyards, photographers, healthcare professionals, all sorts of industries and niches. So over the last 14 years since I've been doing this, I've really come to know a lot of different industries, and we've been pretty successful at picking up what is needed within individual industries, refining our strategies and our little tools and techniques and psychological protocols, and implementing them across all those industries as well. So regardless of the industry you're in, I think there'll be something for you in this chat today. Just to cover very quickly what you'll learn, I'm going to discuss why every business should be selling their products or services online. We're going to discuss the 6 pillars of online digital marketing. I'm going to explain what they are, how they intercorrelate, and how they can be leveraged for maximum success, and how they really are contingent and hinge upon one another in one way or other. I'll also talk about websites. So what really makes a truly lead generating website for your business. And it's, just a quick spoiler. It's not based on having the most complex and fancy website out there. We're also going to talk through a case study. As Steve mentioned, one of my other businesses is one called Timepiece Monthly. Launched it in April 2020, right as the pandemic started. But we were able to create a lot of momentum through that launch and the process and the different things that we implemented from the 6 pillars. So I'm going to kind of discuss the 6 pillars, then move on and show how they were utilized and leveraged within the case study and the results we got there, and discuss a little bit how they can be implemented for any business really. And then I'm going to finish up with discussing and just sort of putting out there a number of the key platforms that we use in the business and for clients and for our own businesses that you guys can run with. Very, very easy to implement. Technology in the last 3-4 years has come an incredible way. And probably especially in the last 15-16 months, we've noticed a lot of automated technologies coming through, and I think a lot of that pivoting has been spurred on by the pandemic. So I'll discuss a lot of the tools that we use that hopefully you'll get something out of. Just to explain a little bit about me and my history, I've been in sales. That's historically after I graduated from Queen's University in Belfast with a psychology degree. I went into sales, which is linked in some way. But I've done sales for 18 years for all our businesses. I founded Zenith Online Marketing 14 years ago now, back in Ireland. Just enjoyed marketing, felt I could do better than what was around me at the time, and then created basically an agency around that. I'm also a lean startup expert. So when you're founding a business, how do you go about doing that in the best way to minimize overhead, maximize profit? Online entrepreneurship. I've, over the course of the last 14 years being an entrepreneur, I've pretty much sold almost everything you could think of online, from ebooks to photography to prints, membership sites, e-learning courses, hosting services. All our consulting services are done online as well, have been for years. So there's a lot of experience there in terms of how to sell pretty much anything, virtual or physical products, memberships, e-learning, and all that kind of stuff online over the last 14 years. I also specialize in UX, UI, and conversion strategy. And that's kind of a lot of what we bring to the table, especially for other agencies. We contract with a lot of other larger marketing agencies or branding agencies who maybe don't have our specialisms in-house. So they bring us in, we consult with them, we design, develop websites, custom installations, apps, all sorts of things to maximize their marketing success. And kind of take them forward with that success in mind. The one thing I want to lay out right at the start, just as we get stuck in here, is when we approach anything in online marketing for either a client or our own businesses, we tend to look for 2 factors, and these are always kind of forefront in our minds. And the idea is that it's all about traffic or conversion. You're either trying to elicit a conversion from an action, or you're trying to generate and move traffic from one place to another, and therefore get through into that conversion element. So I would say this: if you're starting out in business, or even if you're experienced in business, a lot of the mistake I see a lot of businesses make is that they get overcomplicated in what the end goal is. But really it always boils down to either trying to generate traffic or elicit a conversion. So always bear that in mind when you're building out a strategy for your business. Here's a reason, number one on the list, why every business should be selling online. And as per what I said in the intro there, what types of products or services can you sell online? Well, the truth is you can sell anything online these days. You can, of course, sell any physical product. You can sell services, as we do, membership clubs, as we do, subscription services, as we do, and a lot of our clients do as well. You can sell content, for instance, books, ebooks, digital content, courses, premium access. If, say, for instance, you're an expert in something, consulting and coaching as well. So why every business should be selling online? The truth of it is you can build success for any style of business in that manner. And it's just about knowing the platforms to use, knowing the strategy to put in place, and what people respond well to. And I'll cover all that in the pillars as we go. It is often, if you're selling something online, it's often a lean model, so low overhead model. Yes, you have to factor in costs in any business, but it's very, very easy to start out with low overhead, so little investment. And ultimately, you're exposing your brand to a much wider audience and reach by selling your products online, making it easier for people to buy those products. And what we talk about in marketing is the concept of touches with a brand. So just to explain, I'm sure we all have this experience. The first time you see a brand, it's very unlikely, not impossible, but it's very unlikely you buy from that brand on your first sort of visible access to that brand. What happens is you really need, as a business, to generate and engineer multiple brand touches, as we call it. So if somebody comes into contact with your brand, whether it's through an ad campaign, through social media, through search engine results, through email, all of those are considered touches to the brand. And what you need often to do is create I don't want to say a blanket marketing strategy, but you need to be in different places at different times, communicate with people, raise brand awareness, and maximize the touches with your brand. And effectively, touches, like I say, it just means connection or visibility on your brand. The other thing you want to do online, and this is what every business should be doing, I don't think that in this day and age, any business really has the reason not to sell online anymore. I've been doing it for 11, 12, 13 years, probably, between the ebooks I launched way back in time through a platform called ClickBank to the membership platform that I'm going to discuss in the case study for Timepiece Monthly. But the way to do it is that you automate conversion. So it means that if somebody comes into your website, you have systems in place to effectively communicate with them, to guide them along a pathway, and for them to reach the ultimate conclusion that they need to convert with your brand. So that could be buying a product, it could be opting into an email list, or attending a webinar, anything like that. The other great thing about selling online is that the speed of launch is exceptionally fast. You can engineer really within days, if depending on the product or service that you're launching, you can have something sold within days. And that's actually something, again, we'll discuss in the case study, because it's something we engineered through a sequenced strategy and very, very simple, minimalist online assets to start with. But we were able to get to launch within about a month and hit certain milestones along the way, which I'll outline later. Okay, so let's get stuck into the 6 pillars of digital marketing. So what are these essential pillars? And I say this to every client we work with. Each of these has its own merit and own leverage point for your business. I don't believe that any of these should be ignored. I think they all hinge off one another. The successes of each hinge off the others. And therefore, that's why if I'm building out a strategy for a client, these are the things that I'm talking about and we're planning out. And in whether a small way or a large way, we're making happen. So number 1 on the list is a lead generating and high conversion website. And I'll talk about what builds a high converting website shortly. But the important thing is that you want your website to bring in leads for your business. It can't just be a presence and the old, build it and they will come mentality. It never worked. And it's really important that when you develop a website and you build out a website, I'm sure a lot of you are aware of a lot of the tools nowadays. You've got page builders, you've got website builders, you've got software as service platforms, which basically do everything in one place, instead of you needing hosting and a domain and a server and a content management system. Everything's done in one place. So it's become increasingly easy to build websites. But of course, a lot of those platforms don't necessarily focus on the lead generation or the high conversion element. And there's definitely a strategy and a talent to being able to engineer those things, which I'll discuss a little bit later. At number 2 on the list, funnel creation. Funnels, I'm sort of assuming that some of you will have heard of what a funnel is. But a funnel is basically a mechanism I'll discuss in a little bit more detail, where you can basically bring in a volume of people, engage with them, and take them on a journey towards conversion. Once you have those things, you need traffic for your website or your funnel. Of course, a funnel is part of your website, potentially. So you need to think about how you're going to generate traffic. Search engine optimization, social media, ads, email, influencers. Those are going to be your main areas of traffic generation. You can also do press and featured articles and things like that. We've definitely leveraged those over time. Lists, then, number 4 on the list. You want to build a database of interested people who are engaged with, who you offer support to and you relate to with your brand voice. And from there, when you get customers or members or clients, you've got to then focus on your reputation management. So your service or product has to be great, otherwise it's going to fail. That's a given. But more and more, reviews and search engine optimization and your online presence through reputation management, whether on social media or review sites like Google or Yelp or any of those ones, it's really important that you start to nurture and curate those reviews and that presence, because that actually feeds back in, for instance, to search engine optimization, social proof, and a lot of other factors that influence people's tendency to take that conversion with your brand. Once you have all that in place, then you've got to think about analytics. So the biggest mistake probably I see any business make is that they do not pay attention to any analytics whatsoever. They don't look at their social growth. They don't look at their email analytics. They don't look at their website visitor analytics. They maybe don't implement some of the more advanced or sophisticated analytic tools. For instance, heat map tracking, video. There's a lot of different things there that we'll discuss as well as we go through them. Just to take each pillar as it is. So what makes an ideal website? The website I always put number 1 on the list of pillars, because if you don't have the website and it's not high converting, it's not generating leads, any other endeavor that you take in social media or ad spend or search engine optimization or content curation, it's really effectively, in a way, falling on deaf ears, because once they come to the website, if you don't have a website, some businesses, believe it or not, still don't have a website. But if you don't have a website, you're wasting all the other endeavors that you're putting the effort or the investment into. So what makes the ideal website? I'll never say a perfect website, because no website is perfect. Maybe no website is ideal, but for your brand, you can certainly build out a presence that speaks in the right way to people and that you can use as a great foundation, a great platform to build upon and refine and improve as you go. So when we look at websites, there's 6 essential components. The first one is design or aesthetic. So when people land on your website, what do they see? What are they greeted with? Is the initial impact engaging with them? Is it accessible? Is it enjoyable to be a part of? The next thing is mobile compatibility. Is your website accessible from a mobile device. That's become much trickier, believe it or not, because of just the range of screen sizes and orientations and resolutions and everything. But also mobile compatibility feeds into search engine optimization, of course, particularly on mobile, which is an ever increasing, ever growing percentage of website visitors. The next thing you want to think about is functionality. So you're thinking about user experience. When people come into the website, what do they see? How do they get to where they want to go with the user interface? The user interface really is just a structure of systems, menu items, what you present to people so that they can get where they need to go in the fastest way, fewest clicks possible. So it means that visitors find what they need as fast as they can, so they don't get an opportunity to leave your website. Once you get them into your website, then you got to think about ways to engage them. So that very much is user experience design and content. Now, what you won't see, just a quick caveat on the essential components of a website or the pillars, what you won't see is me define content as one of the pillars or one of the essential components of a website. The caveat is, of course it is. If I was to add a seventh pillar, it would be content. Content feeds into everything that you build. So every pillar requires content. You've got your website. It's going to require engaging, concise, succinct, and high, conversion oriented content. Search engine optimization, largely based off content and engagement of that content. So when you engage people and they come back to your website, they read your content, they delve further into your site, you will be rewarded with higher rankings, because the search engines reward based on what they call authority. So if your website has high authority in your industry, you're going to get more free traffic or more search engine traffic coming your way, because the search engines recognize all that. So content does feed into absolutely everything we discuss. Social media, you're going to require content. You're going to require copywriting for your website to explain your services, why people should join or purchase something from you. So it does form an inherent and unavoidable and incredibly important component of the whole picture. But just bear in mind that it feeds into absolutely everything. So it's kind of like an omnipresent, all-important facet in and of itself. Right. So in your website, you've got the engagement going. You've got people, excited about your product potentially. The user experience is there. You've presented stuff to them in a nice way where their interest is piqued. They are potentially ready to take the next step. Well, a lot of businesses, again, fail with conversion. They don't ask for the next step to be taken. They don't have a call to action that is appropriate for that next step to happen, to engage with people and take them through. And then in the background, they don't have the fulfillment mechanics sorted. So say somebody goes to purchase a product on your website, or purchase a membership of your site, or an hour's consulting with you. What happens if you don't have the system to take that payment, or to facilitate the generation of a calendar booking or something like that? Well, the chances are, as with anything in this stack of features within a website, if you don't have that, people are more likely to experience friction with the process. So when we talk about friction in conversion, we really mean that there's something just not quite right psychologically for people. They think, that's not working. This maybe doesn't instill confidence. Do you know what? I'm going to go back to Google and I'm going to maybe check out that other business that I saw, somewhere in the mix. And then you potentially have lost potentially a massive, or your biggest ever client or purchaser. So conversion is really important. You've got to put in place the right elements to ask for that conversion from people, and be explicit about it as well. And then the number 6 thing then, what makes the ideal website, is the analytics process. Again, what a lot of businesses ignore completely, and they look at their own website. And I certainly have been guilty of this in the past. You look at what you've built and you think, this is great. It's a beautiful website, looks great, products look good. I would buy from this. But you don't necessarily have the step back approach to be able to see it from a wider audience view, and to be able to see, well, maybe this part isn't quite right. Maybe the call to action isn't quite there. Maybe I need less text on the page. I think I've explained everything really well, but is that too much text there? Are people not reading? They're not scrolling? Are they not clicking through when we ask them to click through? all of those things feed in to a refinement process for the website that is essential for long-term growth, for impact in your industry, and for basically maximizing the other investments you make, whether it be search engine optimization, ad traffic, social media endeavors, customer support, and so on. So just to give you a couple of examples, and I'll start out just with an example of the case study that we're going to talk about as we go. So the case study is my other business, Timepiece Monthly. So in April 2020, we launched this website. Didn't look like this, which was another refinement process we took on board. But this is going to be the case study that I show you sort of at the end, how we implemented all the different components, funnels, social media, email marketing, and leverage a lot of momentum to really build a good foundation for the business. First of all, then, just to give you examples of, what do I mean by design or aesthetics? What's good in design or aesthetics? Like I said at the start, it's not about having the fanciest website you could ever have. It's not about having a massive, expansive website. Indeed, oftentimes a simpler website elicits better response from your clientele or your prospects. So this is an example, super simple, Under Armour website, white banner at the top, categorizations of products at the top. You know exactly where you need to go. Aesthetic is nice. You've got, high impact, the rock in the gym. You've got a super simple statement, Under Armour Project Rock Collection, build the belief, shop now. The aesthetic is great there. But then the other things are good there as well. The functionality is great, super simple to find where you need to go. The engagement is good. You've got the high impact image there. You've got a very clear call to action, shop that collection. And then you've got whatever other choices you need to make. So it's very, very well laid out, well structured. Next, you've got mobile compatibility. Now, until a few years ago, it was a good thing to have mobile compatibility, but as the frequency of people using mobile devices was on the uptick. Now it's essential because it feeds in the search engine optimization. If you don't have a mobile compatible site, you're going to get dings from Google and other search engines where they say, this site maybe isn't that interested in engaging with people in the right way, so we're not going to really reward them here. So mobile compatibility feeds into all these sorts of things: accessibility, user experience. It helps people engage with your brand. It's important for Google and other search engines. And there's a distinction between mobile and desktop search. So if you're on a mobile, Google and other search engines recognize that, and they give you the results that are most relevant for you. So you can rank higher in desktop or mobile, depending. But it really, with the massive uptick in mobile use, it's really, really important that you pay attention to mobile compatibility and you optimize your website moving forward. What do I mean by functionality as well? Just to kind of give an example. Well, the greatest example I can give is Amazon. A website that sells maybe hundreds of millions of products at this stage, across all sorts of platforms. Started out as a bookstore, but if you go onto Amazon, across those millions and millions of products, it's very, very easy to find what you need. Now, there are reasons for that. Some of them are very simple. They've got a big search bar at the top. Some of them are a little bit more sophisticated. And of course, not everybody can avail of exactly those sophisticated methods. For instance, on their platform, they have a massive range of algorithms that listen and watch what you're doing, what you're searching for, and all this other stuff. And if you know Facebook, that basically they monitor absolutely everything, including your discussions. When you're chatting to somebody, if you've got your microphone turned on in their settings, they'll listen to your discussions and then they'll appropriate ads within hours quite often that they think are appropriate to you. And those are the algorithms, that are at work. Amazon is probably the biggest example just because of the scale of it. And of course, we can't all use that type of technology from day one. But if you think about your website, maybe you have a range of products or services, and you want people to be, very, very, for it to be very easy for them to find, in which case a search bar is one of the easiest to implement functionality tools you can get. And the other thing, of course, is thinking of categorizations if you do have a more expansive catalog of products or services. But Amazon do it great. And it's one of those ones, I think, if you check out the websites separately, and just delve in and think about how websites are structured. How easy is it to find where I need to go within this particular website? And the best way I find to do it is to look at the big guns in the industry, like Amazon, Facebook, Under Armour, Nike, Apple, right? And go into their websites and just delve around and think, how are they working this functionality where it's so easy for me to find what I need when I need it? And then what you can do is you can retro engineer similar structures and systems and menu items in order to get your brand and your products or services presented in the right way that makes it easy for people to find when they land on your website. Engagement then, what does engagement mean? Again, largely based on content. It's one of those things that you really want people when they land on your website. Aesthetics have to be good. First impressions have to be good. Functionality has to be good. And once people start to find where they need to go, really it's down to content and engagement processes on your website. Good example of one, now they may have changed this website since, but the Space Needle website in Seattle, when you land on that website, it had this ground up approach. So you started out at the ground and it's all based around the Space Needle, and you could scroll up and elevation would lift you up across over the city, and then you would get all these little kind of crosshairs appear for features within the city. And then as you got to the top, you went to their restaurant and you could see their restaurant and the 360 degree views. Looked amazing, very engaging. And then they had like a call to action, which was to book a table in the restaurant. But that was a super website, very engaging. Again, that's not what every brand can do, but in terms of engagement for your prospects and your customers or clients, what we have to do is step back and see, basically see what do they want to see, what engages with that type of person, that, as we call it, an avatar in marketing, who is the ideal client. And you could have multiple different demographics, multiple different products that speak to different demographics, which makes it more complex. In that instance, then what you have to do is create what we call perceived customization. So Apple is a great example of that. If you want a working example of what that means, if you land on the Apple website, they sell a certain number of products. Take, for instance, their MacBooks, right? They sell their MacBooks to all sorts of people, to businesses, to students, to just the general public. They sell the same product to all those different people. But if you look at their pages for selling to those people, they're slightly different. They're tweaked and they converse with that individual demographic in very specific ways that speak best to that demographic and is more likely to elicit a conversion from them. If you speak to a student in the same way you would speak to a business, there's going to be a jarring, a friction there when the conversion element comes. So that's important as well with engagement. Think about your audience, your avatar, how you're going to speak to them. Maybe the language is different, maybe the imagery is different. And then you can design and retro engineer the assets of your website around that. Conversion then, calls to action and psychological principles. So this is something we definitely implemented in the case study. I'll show you how it all transpired and the successes and failures we had with that. But with conversion, you do have to ask for the conversion, whether it's a shop now, whether it's a join now, create a free account, buy now, whatever it is. You got to think about the conversion, the calls to action with the call to action buttons. Here, I used a lock in your 60% off membership for one of my other businesses. The other thing about this screen you'll see is what we did was we used urgency principle. So we have a countdown timer there, which basically says that this was a test. So normally you want the urgency to be even greater, maybe 3 days, 1 day, number of hours. We used the urgency principle there to elicit a response from our demographic. This is 60% off for this amount of time, lock it in, call to action, click the link, and then the fulfillment mechanics kick in the background to get you as a business paid and get that member or customer onboarded with your business. So conversion is, again, super important. It's one of those things that a lot of businesses ignore as they do analytics. But analytics are so important, as I said earlier, for basically creating a foundation to grow upon. If you start out a website and you haven't analyzed anything for 2 years after that point, you really have no idea how successful it is. You could look at it as a business owner and think, this is awesome. It looks amazing. And again, I've been guilty of it as well in the past. I build websites all the time. I design them. Me and my team put together custom things, and I think this is amazing. This is like the best thing I've ever seen in this industry. And then it doesn't work, So a part of it is testing. You have to be open to testing, open to failing. But analytics is an incredibly essential part of that process. Without analytics, you have no baseline. You have no idea. All you have is a trusting in your gut instinct, which can be exceptionally well tuned, but not always, right? So you got to test, you got to look for the baseline, you've got to see the facts in front of you and be open to adaptation and refinement after that fact. It gives you great transparency in terms of a business if you're looking at your analytics. And it doesn't matter if you've got 100,000 people or 10 million people or 80 people coming to your website every month. What you need to do is look at what they're doing on your website, how they're getting to your website, what actions they're performing on your website, and be open to doing that adaptation process and thinking outside the box and thinking, how can we get them a little bit more engaged with our brand? Is it the content that's not working? Is it the call to action? Is it the imagery? Maybe the imagery isn't speaking to our ideal avatar or client. Let's maybe adapt that, maybe test, that's what we call a split test. So you maybe have two pages which are virtually identical, but the imagery is different on one. Maybe the text or the calls to action are different on another. And you basically test what elicits a better response. You take the winner, you create a new split test, and you go again, until you get better and better at it and until the results are there. So within analytics, you really have to look across the board. You got to look at Google Analytics. You've got to look at Google AdWords if you're running ads, Facebook Insights, social growth. You maybe look at your insights, not only on Facebook ads if you're running those, but also your Facebook page growth. I'll give you an example. In Timepiece Monthly, I wanted another set of eyeballs on our products and services, and particularly our ads and our social. So we actually contracted in another marketing agency because I thought, you know what, I want to test this out. Are we doing the best job that we can, or is there another way of looking at this? We looked at our Facebook growth, and we had grown. Basically, our Facebook page growth had grown 1,000 people per month over 3 months before we contracted this agency in. When we contracted them in, the growth over the next month dropped to 130 people. So it had been 1,000 each month regularly without a hitch. And then it dropped to 130 people. And I was like, this isn't right. So then we monitored that. We let them go for another month, 70 people. And that was it. So then we canceled the contract and we stepped back in and took over. And then we start growing by 500, 800, 1,000 per month thereafter. So analytics are phenomenal for that reason. And especially if you are maybe employing a marketing agency, you want to be able to read analytics. You want to be able to understand different concepts within analytics and see, what's working, what's not. And ultimately that's one of the most important things. Like when we're with clients, I always force them to put in place analytics so that we can show them what we're doing and the results that we're getting, but also for us so that we can make sure we're on the top of our game. If, for instance, a website's search engine optimization drops by 30% over a 3-month period, we want to know that. We want to be able to delve in and say, what's gone on here? What changes were made that may have impacted this? What new search engine optimization rules have come out? All those types of things need to be factored in. So that's really the importance of analytics for your websites. Okay, pillar 2 then, funnels. Want to do this sort of quickly because I don't want to labor too much on funnels. Funnels can be as simple as a page and maybe an email opt-in. They could be as expansive and complex as 30 pages and 50 different emails if you really want them to be. But just to explain what a funnel is basically a mechanism, a sequence of pages or actions to bring in a volume of prospects. So you'll see my exquisite drawing on the right here, and it shows basically what you would imagine a funnel to be. So what happens with a funnel is you bring in a certain number of volume of people, maybe 1,000 as per the example, and instantly you know that a certain number of those people are just going to bounce out. They're going to leave. They're they're just not interested, or maybe it's not the right time or whatever. So 200 leave here, 300 leave there, it leaves 500 people who you have piqued the interest of with the page design that they're landing upon. And then you've got to engage with them and try to convert a number of them to take the next step within the funnel, which is most often giving you their email in exchange for something. It could be a coupon, it could be a free training, it could be a free product sample or a free consultation. So in that way, you maybe take 1,000 people and it whittles down to 100 people. But the great thing about the funnel in that instance is that those 100 people are genuinely interested right now with your product or service. And you can then start to engage with those people. And of course, 1,000 is an example. It could be 100,000, it could be 1,000,000. And then the numbers, as you work down the funnel, are slightly different. But the key is that the decreasing numbers are enabling a refinement in your targeting for those people. It allows you then to engage with those people and communicate with those people because you've now got their email address. So what you can do is you can bring people into the funnel, engage with them, build some trust, and then ask for the next step conversion. Now, what we then do is we create like a pipeline extended from the funnel, which has a number of different actions. So it could be nothing. It could be a single automated email that goes to the person, says, hey, thanks for signing up. We hope you really like what we're doing. Here's your 10% coupon. Feel free to use it. Here's the link. Go over to the site and shop now. It could be as simple as that, or it could be as complex as having multiple different action points across a period of time. So you could map out automated sequenced emails, requests, different things like a fun email goes out or a fun social post goes out across this, what we call a pipeline, the extension of a funnel. And the idea there is that it's a defined sequence of actions geared to convert. And really what it is, as I said earlier, the idea of touches with your brand. This is the ideal way to elicit and put out those touches. So somebody opens an email, that's one touch. Somebody clicks a link in the email over to follow you on Facebook or Twitter or whatever your chosen platforms are. That's another touch. Maybe you follow up with another value proposition, maybe a different free coupon or something else. Maybe you then follow up with an offer. So you're not hitting them straight away with an offer. You're building trust. You're allowing them to see that you are trustworthy, that your business has value to add. You're giving them free stuff. You're maybe giving them a free coupon or a training. And then as you take them along that and you increase the number of touches with your brand, it's much more likely that when you hit the big conversion, which is the first sale, that they are ready to commit to purchase and you get the sale from them. So this is really how it works together. You bring people into a funnel and you move them along with a pipeline of all these different touches, emails, social media, could be push notifications, text marketing, all those things, but basically getting your brand in front of them more and more. It could be something as simple as pushing them over to read reviews of your brand or leave a review of your brand if they're an existing customer who is committed. So why do we use funnels? This one's pretty clear. They generate leads. They qualify leads. So they take 1,000, say, down to 100 or 500. They collect prospects in lists, which I'll cover shortly. And they allow you to communicate with those prospects in engaging ways with your content via email, social, and all those other platforms. So in that way, what they do is they help you nurture the lead through a pathway, which ultimately you want to engineer to end in conversion. So the person buys from you, whatever your product or service is. And that's why you can really sell anything online: product, service, consulting, downloads, membership, e-learning. All of these systems can be used to sell literally anything. And the way they're built these days really is very well put together technology-wise, super simple to use. As long as you know the strategy that you're trying to get to, which is ultimately conversion or traffic generation. A lot of these platforms are just super in terms of being able to hop on, create something and launch it with impact and with speed. Ultimately, the funnels enhance conversion because of those extra touches along the way. The fact that the entire process can be automated. You're not having to sit down at your computer one day and go, oh, I forgot to write that email to the 500 people on the list yesterday. Let me get that out now. You create them ahead of time and you automate the sequencing of requests. So that means that anybody coming in future will get that same sequence. And then you can use that sequence to refine and improve it and get better conversion through that refinement process. Okay. Oh, sorry. Yes, Amber.
Sorry. We're just trying to grab your attention. We had a question in the chat for you. Kelsey is asking, what data can you use to determine an appropriate level of commitment from site visitors? And is there data to determine if the commitment you are seeking from those site visitors is actually turning them away? Okay.
So I would look at, in terms of the commitment factor, it depends what the conversion is. So if one of your conversions on the site might be an email opt-in or what we call a squeeze page. So very, very simple page. It literally is probably a statement, maybe a video or an image and a request for the person's email. That's super simple to monitor and to gauge the commitment there, because there is a singular call to action on that page. So if you send 1,000 people to that page and none opt in, you know that there's something wrong. And the factors that there's something wrong with it's going to be three pieces. It's going to be your statement, your content, your video, maybe your image, or your call to action. And from that point, you can definitely refine in a very easy way to better speak to those people and elicit that commitment. The other thing you can do, I'll show an example. I think it's in maybe 3 or 4 slides. And what we use a lot in our kind of viewing of visitors to the website, we use heat map tracking. You can also get video tracking, believe it or not. So there's a platform we use called Lucky Orange, and it shows a heat map, which basically shows where people click on a page. So if your call to action is getting no clicks, you know that the commitment is not there yet. There's something, again, you've got to think about, is it the call to action? Is it the preamble to that call to action? Maybe the wording isn't quite right. Maybe the imagery doesn't speak to our ideal avatar. But that's very much where split tests are very useful, so that you can have, say you create an ad campaign, instead of sending 1,000 people to one page, you could split it and you could send 500 to one page and 500 to another page, which pretty much says the same thing, but maybe has a different call to action or has a different image. And then you see which operates better. You kill off the one that didn't, and you refine, split test the one that won the war, and then keep going with that. So there are different ways to kind of look at that commitment and see if it's not there whatsoever. I mean, somebody clicking through into your website. You also want to look at things like bounce rate in Google Analytics, time spent on your website, page views, returning versus new visitors. If somebody's returning to your website, that's a good indication that, you've had that first touch with that person. Maybe they're nearly ready to, take the next step. So if you were to look at returning visitors to your site and they're still not clicking through into that, taking the next step, then it could, you really have to sort of take an overview of it and think, well, is there too much content here? Is there not enough? Have we laid out the features? Have we created a very easy to understand step by step of what they can expect with us as a business, whether they're buying a product or service? So quite often we use like a 3 to 4 step visual, infographic, where it says to them, these are your steps, super simple, 1, 2, 3, and you're good to go. Things like that. You really want to look at all the data together. I don't know if that answered the commitment element. What was the second part of it, Amber?
So Kelsey did say, thank you, very helpful. And then the second part was, is there data to determine if the commitment you're seeking from the visitors is turning them away? And I think maybe you answered that in the process.
Yeah, I think, you got to monitor all those things. The calls to action is very important, but that's where the heat map tracking is brilliant, because it shows you if there's a big button on the middle of the page and nobody's clicking it, but they're clicking somewhere else on the page. And I'll maybe just give you that visual shortly here, and you can see how that lays out within the example of our case study. That's a great way to do it. You can see that people just, something's turning them off from that click. That click can be the next step to buy. It can be booking a consultation. It could be subscribing to the email list even. But it definitely, the heat map, I think, is a brilliant way to do it. I would definitely recommend anybody use heat map tracking. I'll move on, and then I'll show you how the heat maps work as well. Thank you for the question, Kelsey. That's definitely something everybody should be monitoring. Is that, are you turning somebody off from the commitment? Are you too forceful with your call to action? Maybe you haven't given the person enough, as we say, touches with your brand before committing, and that's definitely, especially with luxury purchases. Within the example of Timepiece Monthly, we sell watch subscriptions as low as $149 and as high as $1,500. So, a lot of those are luxury purchases. You can't just go in and say, hey, you want to spend $1,500 here? So it's very much a lot of background work to increase the touches to get people onto the platform first. It's about traffic generation. There's so many different ways you can generate traffic. Again, content really, really feeds into this in an important way. But search engine optimization, in maybe its simplest form, is really the adaptation of your website coding, the content, your reputation, engagement, and registration within Google, Yahoo, Bing, YouTube, and all the other search engines to be found organically, or basically free through search, by people searching the relevant terms for your business. So that's what I was saying earlier about high authority websites tend to win big in those. Like if you go into Google and you search for, best trainers, you're bound to see Nike up there, Under Armour, Adidas, and so on. The reason being that so many people go to their websites, they're so well laid out, they're so well engaged with, the brand awareness is so good, the brand loyalty is so good, that it all feeds in to create a high authority presence for them. And even on a smaller scale, even on a local business scale, you can create that momentum for your business just by following the principles of how to build a good website, how to engage with people, and so on. The importance of SEO, of course, if you can't get found, your website's useless. So you can be doing a lot of groundwork, social media work and ad campaigns and so on. But if you're ignoring SEO, your website isn't kind of maximizing the investment that you're putting in. The idea is you drive organic or free traffic to your website, gives the business new leads in an automated setting. So you're not having to monitor search engines. They're sending them to your website because you're a good website, you're a good business, and it maximizes exposure for your brand and products. Big problems with SEO are that the rules always change. So Google will just on a whim launch something that they've had planned, new algorithm change that nobody's ever heard about. They put it in place, and suddenly your website drops by 50% in terms of search engine or organic results. Mobile, as I mentioned earlier, is now a big issue for many. Very, very important that your website is mobile optimized, responsive website, so it can basically reshuffle, reshape, depending on the device it's being viewed upon. The other thing with SEO is you've got to bear in mind it takes time to deliver results. So there's no instant gratification. Yes, you should be working on SEO from day one, but no, you can't expect instant results. It's a slow grind process. It's building authority for your brand and your website within your industry. And again, that's where content comes in and engagement. So you want to send people to your website, engage with them, have them spending time, clicking through, reading, viewing stuff on your website. And that way you build your authority. So it does require consistent effort and update of your content at all times. Really, there's no, any experience I've had is that there's only negative to be had if you stop creating content. So it's really important that you kind of put in a lot of effort to that. Another way to generate traffic, online advertising, paid forms, direct traffic, placing highly targeted advertising in front of your target market. Like I said earlier, think of Facebook. I've had a number of instances where I've talked to somebody one day about a product or something, and the next day I get that product or something very, very closely related to a keyword that I mentioned pop up on Facebook ads. So it's, they're monitoring everything. It's a data collection, service really. They're monitoring your behaviors, your patterns, what you're talking about, what you're searching for, and then they're placing highly targeted ads in front of you. So that's great for businesses. We can then hone in on our, desired avatar in different ways. So we've got things like search ads. So we've got Google, Yahoo, and so on, display and banner ads, Facebook, LinkedIn, Google, YouTube, Pinterest, Instagram, any other websites. You can have your banner ads placed in there, normally through Google as well. It's the easiest way. You've got other types of ads like recommended reading. You may have seen, if you're on maybe a blog website, scroll down to the bottom of the blog post, it'll have, you may also like, and there's like 3 to 6 articles, and they're not necessarily on that website, but they're advertising that is generating income for that website if you click on it. And the other way to do it is retargeting. So especially something like Facebook, you can actually see by installing a pixel in your website, and it tracks the viewer or the visitor. So they come to your website, they maybe have that first touch with your website, they go away, they don't buy. But nowadays you can retarget ads to that person based on the fact that they were on your website in the recent past. So that's a great way to increase the touches that I was talking about earlier, because people then go, yeah, Timepiece Monthly, yeah, so I was on their website, maybe click through again and then have another look, and hopefully then those touches, and when you build the big picture through content and through testimonials, reviews, through a good product or good service, then the retargeting can really be maximized in terms of its utility. So social media is next on the list in terms of traffic generation. Social media has been certainly big in terms of, with Timepiece Monthly, we leveraged social media to the hilt when we were launching, and that's the medium that we created most momentum through, because we were able to build through social media, build our email list really quickly, and then we were able to strategize and create a sequenced automated list of emails to the people to engage with them as we approach the launch. Super important for us. Social media is very important because it's a community-based business. It's very much based on people who are really into wristwatches or who are new to the hobby, and we can engage with them, we can educate them, we can build trust and value offers from our brand for that person. So of course, with social media for business, Facebook pages, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest, great potential benefits. Like I said, you'll see in a short while the benefits we had for Timepiece Monthly. You've got free viral traffic generation over to your website. You can increase brand awareness very quickly. You can increase engagement with your brand. You can, from having a page to having a private group or an open group, you can start to engage with those people. Especially if you've got a page, you can then target adverts to the people who are members of your page, to the people who are friends of members of your page. So that kind of spider web element of how to increase brand awareness is huge on social media, especially Facebook, because we can then target people. Say, my friend Joe Blogs is a member of Timepiece Monthly, and Timepiece Monthly targets some ads to friends of Joe Blogs. I get to see that, and I see that my buddy likes that brand. So I'm more likely to click through, more likely to join, sign up to the page, and then maybe go to the website and hopefully, from a business perspective, get converted. So it's a great way to engage with customers, content sharing, conversation, polls. We use it all the time for surveys. In our private group, we do surveys to basically refine our product offering. It's also a great way to promote latest offers to followers and their connections, and capitalize on new forms of advertising. Like I mentioned, social proof is big. If I see that somebody just like me likes this brand, follows this brand, I'm more likely to click the button to do the same thing. So social proof is a big one to leverage for people. Big problems with social media are time, effort, because it's never free as such. You've got to put in the effort. You've got to think about a strategy. Brand voice is really important. You've got to think about how your brand communicates with your clientele, your prospects. With Timepiece Monthly, we very much use like a fun, laid back, all-inclusive brand voice. So we're part of the community. Myself and my co-founder, we are always, we do, we run auctions in the group. We communicate with people. We have fun with people. It's very much community first, and that leverages through to the business. The big other thing with social media is I see too many businesses focusing in on too many platforms. They think, well, there's millions of people here and there's billions of people here and there's millions over here. I need to be on all these platforms. And that's not necessarily the truth, because a lot of the problem with that is that maybe your business isn't suited to, for instance, LinkedIn, or maybe it's just not suited to Pinterest or Twitter. Like, we don't have a Twitter account. We focus in on Instagram and Facebook. And that's not to say in future we won't for Timepiece Monthly. But right now we focus in on what we've got the capacity to manage, and we make it work. And we choose platforms in that respect. So email, I mentioned earlier, super simple. Within those funnel systems, you can automate email, direct response form of marketing. You get an email over to somebody and you engage with them, and you ask for a call to the call to action to be clicked, view products, or visit page here, or whatever it might be. So you send the traffic over to your website, you direct the traffic into wherever you want it to go. Email is a great way to do it. It's been big for us as well. We managed to grow about 7,000 followers on our subscribers to our email list over 10 months. And we communicate with people all the time via email. That's why all the big companies use it, is that it's a great form of direct response. And some people will respond better to an email. Some people respond better to a text. Some people respond better to social posts or social adverts. So it really should be, email is a great way, and it should be part of your marketing, that you're building an email marketing list from day one. Influencers is another more modern way to do it. Basically the idea there is that you leverage other people's audiences to drive traffic over to your website. So you maybe get somebody who's in the same industry as you, maybe somebody who has a good following, and you convert their followers to be your followers as well. Pillar 4 there is lists. Just want to not rush through.
And Alex, as you transition to number 4 here, just wanted to do a quick timepiece check with you, and make sure as you go through the 4, 5, and 6 pillars that you do have enough time for your case study.
Definitely.
Quick time check for you, and
excellent.
Look forward to continuing.
Perfect. No, that's great. So lists. Some of this stuff we've discussed before. Lists historically they were always viewed as like email lists, and that's certainly something you can do. This is an example of one that we have on a platform called Total Online Blueprint. So basically, it asks for a conversion. So this one was, the course is currently full, gives a sense of scarcity. It asks the person do you want a free mini course? They click the button, give us their email, and then we fulfill the course in the background. So the potential benefits of lists, and you can create lists across all sorts of platforms. You start building a database, you increase the touches with your brand. Communication and engagement is high because you're consistently communicating with that list that is engaged. And ultimately that leads to the better conversion rates that you're ultimately seeking. Why use lists? Well, the benefits are of course, as we've discussed, start building a database, interested leads. Maybe people are just not ready to buy right now, but they shouldn't necessarily be discarded, because with a few more touches with the brand, they may well be ready to buy in future. Maybe they don't have the budget right now. Maybe they're investigating options. But if you're consistently in front of them, it's more likely they come back to you. And it's a great way to communicate across social, email, and so on. So how do we use lists? Well, communication, we relay new offers, products, services. We do that a lot in Timepiece Monthly. You add value, engage with people, entertain them, give them some fun, build brand awareness, familiarity with your brand. It doesn't breed contempt, it breeds trust, more likely to proceed with you. Builds your reputation. For instance, we request reviews from our lists all the time. We send out an email asking for a review on Google. Builds social following as well. Requests for polls. Again, that's how we've refined our products within Timepiece Monthly. Reputation management. I'll just quickly do this because I've discussed some of this earlier in terms of reviews, eliciting those reviews. Customer service and support. If your service is excellent, it overcomes some feelings potentially in your, like if your product is not quite there, but you're trying to get it there. If your service is excellent, you can still leverage that and get, people on board with you. Review requests, what we do again all the time, try and get reviews left regularly on social media, on Google, and that builds, ultimately enhances social proof. So our target demographic is normally males aged 35 to 55, higher socioeconomic status with, they're normally lawyers and doctors and engineers, and at that higher level especially. So the social proof of them seeing a review of somebody just like them is very, very powerful. And then search engine optimization, when you build a library of reviews, it enhances search engine optimization so that your reviews appear up the listings. People are more likely to click in when they see a 5-star review, or at least a strong, 4-star review, and so on. So that can really be leveraged pretty well. I'll do analytics super quick so we can get on to the case study, because we've discussed a lot of this, and I want to show you that the heat map tracking. So the analytics are super important because of the baseline element. You know where you're starting from. How do I refine, and then you measure it, do something else, measure it, and refine in that way. So it's a great way to massively impact conversion in the positive. Without doing that, you tend to be doing everything blind. So here's just a couple of examples. So top left, we've got Google Analytics. That's going to be your kind of mainstay stats product. It's free to install. You just get a bit of code, put it into the header of your website, or get a developer to do it. Then you can start measuring how many people come to the website, how many people are bouncing from the website, how many people spend some time on the website, where people geographically are from, different demographics. You can really delve in well. Bottom right, then you see what I was talking about in the heat map tracking. So you see on that screen, the red component, that's where most people are clicking. So that it's a little kind of concentration of clicks. So most people we can see on this screen are clicking on the watches plan, or sorry, the watches link, or the plans link. There's a number who are clicking on what we call the plan finder. And then as I scroll down the page, there's another button, which is, I think we say, get started now, or view my ideal plan, or something like that. And that gets a number of clicks as well, which is good. So we're constantly monitoring where people are clicking on the page. If our calls to action are getting no clicks, we know instantly something's wrong. The commitment isn't there. So maybe change the call to action, maybe change the wording in some conceivable way, measure it, maybe for, a week or a month, maybe for 1,000 visitors worth, and just see what the percentages are panning out as. Because really the conversion element, the call to action, should be one of your highest clicked components on a page. So it maybe is that you just got too much content in there and it's confusing people. So just quickly, just last kind of 7-8 minutes, hopefully, discuss the case study I've mentioned a few times here. So with Timepiece Monthly, this is a business that we built from the ground up. The pillar marketing features that we used funnels, a simple opt-in. We managed to get 1,100 email subscribers within a 3.5 to 4 week period upon announcing our brand. And that was the funnel was the simplest thing you could ever have, because quite honestly, we didn't have any content. We just had the concept of the brand, what we wanted to do. We put up a super simple page. It had our logo on it. It said, are you tired of the same old watch subscription services? And are you ready for something new? Something along those lines. It had an email field and a, keep me in the loop, or a call to action that said something like that. And we got 1,100 people within a 3-week period, because we shared that link on social media in other watch groups that had a lot of members. So we kind of sourced them out. We were members anyway. People knew us. We kind of put it out and got traffic over to that landing page in the very, very simple funnel, which was just collect the email, send an automated email at first, and then we expanded upon that, and we made it more complex over time, because we then started to get content. We started to develop our product service range and really knew what we were going to do. At the start, I'll be honest, we just thought we were building a watch subscription service and it was going to be better. It was only then, we were kind of building the list in the background for that. So social media was leveraged. We leveraged a lot of people just like us. I'm, into wristwatches. I collect I'm into trading, auctions online. So we knew how to speak to the people who were just like us and that we wanted to be part of the community. We started to build the website in the background after that initial funnel launch. We had subscription options there upon launch. We had a member store that we launched a couple of months after that. So we had an e-commerce element as well. We had memberships. We had email marketing going out to people. We were building those lists, both on our platform, but also social media, built. I can't remember what happened the first few months, but within 10 months, we had 7,000 people following us on social media, I believe. Might have been up over 9,000 now. So we were building email marketing lists from day one. We were introducing a sense of scarcity and urgency, those psychological principles. So we were telling people up front, listen, when this launches, the numbers are going to be limited. It's going to be open for a limited time. And then we're closing it down and we're going to test and make sure that everything's great for people. So that created a huge amount of momentum for us as we approached launch. And then we sent some ad traffic over to our social page, our pages, over to the website as well, just tested, a few things, did the split test element on some of our landing pages and leveraged social traffic from Facebook as well. So here's what we were able to achieve in terms of the timeline of what happened with Timepiece Monthly. We had the concept was created on the 27th of January 2020. Had a chat with my now business partner, and we were like, I think we want to do this. I don't think we discussed it before, but it happened that day. On the 18th of February 2020, we launched our landing page, which again, super simple. A logo, which we had designed for like $100, had some text and a little opt-in box that said, keep me in the loop as we approach launch. From that, we got 1,100 people into a list over a 4-week period after company formation. Within 10 months, we had 9,000 followers on Facebook. That was in part advertising. So we're putting little bits of budget, like $400 or $500 a month, just into consistent growth on the social page, because we knew that we wanted to leverage the numbers and build a community from there. And then of those people, we continue to send people over into our private trading group, which is I think there's 1,900 people trading watches in there now. We've grown our email lists from that initial 1,100 to over 7,000. We've got 2,467 platform members, so people who have registered on our website. Maybe not all customers right now, but we've got their details. We know what watches they like. We ask them to fill in a questionnaire. We've got all that qualified information that we can utilize to market our future marketing to those people. We've got the 1,900 private trading group members now. April 27th, 2020, we launched our alpha test. We hadn't planned to do an alpha test. We were focusing on beta at the start of June, but with COVID, we were concerned that we wouldn't be able to fulfill things with, logistics issues that had emerged. So what we did was we opened it up to 100 members, and we let everybody on our list and our social media know we're opening it up. It's 100 people only. Then we're shutting it down. We actually, before we could shut it down, we had 125 people sign up. So we closed it down, as we said we were going to. We worked in the background to fulfill those orders for mystery watch boxes. And then we shipped them out, fulfilled them. We got reviews and feedback. And then we moved into our beta test at the start of June, so a little bit over a month later. And we got 470 people signing up, generated $127,000 in revenue over a 3-day period. And then again, we closed down our beta. We said, we're done. Nobody else can get access. And we started fulfilling those orders. Now, all of those members were on repeat subscriptions. It wasn't a one-time purchase. So the idea was we would get them into the program either on a monthly or quarterly renewal, and then we would continue to, grow that from there. Then in July, we launched our store, and we did exactly the same process. We announced the store about 3 weeks ahead. We said, this is coming. Here are some snippets, visuals of how this is going to look. And it's going to open on this day, but beware that it's going to be limited stock and all this stuff. Populated our store with not that many, maybe like 50 products, opened it up and let people know about it, email, social, advertising. And generated about 68,000 in revenue in those first 7 days of the store being open as well. So those were all things that we did to leverage the pillars. We had a good website, we had email marketing, we had analytics. We were constantly monitoring how many people were coming in, how many people were clicking through, refining our pages. We were communicating on social media. We were having fun with people. We were speaking in our brand voice that we knew was based on community first. We were leveraging all the facets of the pillars of online marketing. And then in the background, we were building a website, which was not perfect to start. It's still not perfect. It's still being refined even 14 months later. But that's always the way it should be with the pillars of online marketing. You're always refining, you're analyzing and adapting and improving. So that this is basically the overview. I've covered it there, but that's how we achieved it. Was basically we created different launches. We announced the launches. Then we had different psychological protocols and principles in place to create more momentum for us. So we strategically sequence things, scarcity and urgency principles. There's only a certain number available. There's only a certain time available that you can be a part of this. And then we close down and then we work on the next launch. So over the last year, we've probably done 10 different launches. And that's something that I would definitely recommend with any business, is that you try and build momentum for a launch. You create that momentum, and then you let it out there, let people buy, create ways to buy online, products or services. It's all the same, really. But we probably did 10 different launches within the first 12 months. We had an alpha program, a beta program, a VIP program. We introduced new plans. We changed our pricing plans. We announced upcoming features and new trading features and different things. We introduced a new feature which has never been done before in the industry, which was bundles. So we bundle accessories, as you see in the visual there. We do new member features. We have like a review of the month thing where we give somebody a free watch if they have the coolest review, but that's all for us to build our review database. We launched a new store earlier this month. So there's always from my perspective, there's always something that we're doing. There's always the next thing to engage with people, to show people that we're adapting and refining our offering within that particular industry. And that, in line with creating the pillars, with putting them in place, with thinking about content and engagement and social and traffic and your website and analytics and conversion, that you're doing all this in the background, and then you're engaging with your prospects and your future prospects by building your basically your followers and your database accordingly. So that's how we create that massive momentum within that launch for that business, even through the early to mid part of COVID. So what I will say is, I'm going to leave you. We'll do a Q&A now, if that's cool. Hopefully that was all of help. Any questions at all, we can do the Q&A here. If you need anything, you have any questions, especially about these platforms that I'm suggesting you could use to basically implement the pillars or the website and all the different things that you need to have in place to really kind of create momentum and success, I'm here. So feel free to email me or PM me on Facebook or whatever. Happy to help in any way. So thank you guys for your time. Really appreciate it. Hopefully it was of help. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions.
Hey, thanks a lot, Alex. Nothing in the chat right now, but at this point, we've got another 10 minutes. One thing you'll see, everyone who's here, you'll see a poll from us, from the Bucknell SBDC. Give us your feedback in that. But right now, jump into the chat, or with the last few minutes we have, feel free to jump in, unmute your mic, ask Alex what questions you have. One more note is, in the registration email that you got when you signed up, the Bucknell SBDC, we mentioned a platform called eCenter, and that you have a login for that now. If you didn't already have that as an ongoing client of the SBDC, look for that email again and know that you can log into that eCenter, our eCenter platform, and you can download a PDF of Alex's presentation today. So where he has on screen right now all of these resources, you don't have to be furiously scribbling those down in whatever method you're using to take notes and remind yourself to follow up. Grab that download use that as a reference for following up as well. So with that, thanks for the bunch of you who've already jumped into that post-event survey that just popped up on your screen. For those of you who haven't, please fill that out for us. We appreciate that. And what questions do you have for Alex?